Announcement.
If you are here to speak under public comments or on a particular item on the agenda, please fill out a blue request to speak card. They're located in the back of the chambers, and once completed, please hand it to Sunam Carballo, the Deputy City Clerk, standing off to the side. Thank you.
Good. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember West.
Here.
Councilmember Aguirre. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Patten.
Here.
Mayor Dina.
Present.
Councilmember Spragues is absent.
Great. And now I'd like to invite Bruno Dominguez Martinez from the Nestor Language Academy that my little brother Nicky went to, now his name's Nick, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. According to his teacher, Mrs. Esmeralda de Ochoa, Bruno has consistently demonstrated to be an exceptional student. He's a wonderful person who will continue to excel academically and socially. Thanks for being here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You look good. Yeah.
And now we can start with council member communication, starting with Councilmember West. Yeah, and parents, obviously, you don't have to stick around.
Unless you want to.
Thank you so much for being here.
On January 17th, as the chair of the San Diego County Regional Airport Association Grant Transportation Ad Hoc Committee, as the chair of that, we had a great meeting, and we were working to ensure that all ground transportation that's provided to the airport is provided in a safe and reliable means, and we're working on trying to reduce some of the traffic that you see along Harbor Drive. So I know that's all. And then on January 21st, I was so happy to be joined by Councilmember Patten and Councilmember Aguirre for our third year of our Clean Cities Initiative, which was held at Rose Temple Park. What an amazing event. We had over 459 volunteers come out and pick up trash around our community. 459. It was the largest they'd ever seen at I Love It Clean San Diego. So it was a great event. We picked over 744 pounds of trash, 267 pounds of recycling. We also found a TV, which we brought over, and a cast iron, Christmas tree, a toolbox full of tools, all removed on the streets by Rose Temple Park before it gets to the beach. So cleaning our community before it gets to the beach. And then, and thank you very much for coming out, by the way. And then on January 28th, I was a part of I'm the finance committee member for the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority. And let me tell you, the economy of the airport is doing well. Employments and revenues are strong. And it's really based on a lot that you can see that I think all of us are realizing is that gas prices are really low. And that really, really affects how the airport does. So revenues and employments, the amount of people that are coming to our community are both up. So it was a great day. Upcoming, February 23rd. You guys, I know you guys are going to be involved in this. It's our National Fitness Campaign Outdoor Fitness Festival, which will be held at Dunes Park on February 23rd. On ambassador training from 10 to 11:30, and then we're going to have a fitness festival from noon to 2. And this will be our official launch of the Imperial Beach Fitness Court. This is the first of its kind in Southern California. It's a big deal. Please come out. It's going to be a great event. I know that we're trying to get the Ironman people to come out and be a supporter. Our SEAL teams are trying to get to come out there and be supporters, and on all of our local athletic groups. I see a few hats out there. You guys are probably going to be involved too. So yeah, come out February 23rd, starting at 10 o'clock. And then last but not least, I got my Namastoke on. March 2nd and 3rd is our San Diego Imperial Beach Yoga Festival, held right down on the beach. All weekend long, lots of events are going to be happening. There's master classes on the 1st and the 4th, and then the prime event is actually the 2nd and 3rd. We're going for a new record this year of an Om festival, or is it an Om? Yeah, something like an Om festival. Couples yoga, that's what it is. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. So couples yoga, find your couple. If you don't have one, we could probably find a volunteer.
Thank you.
That's it.
Councilmember Aguirre.
Thank you. I attended on January 23rd the MTS board meeting where I was designated as a member of the ad hoc committee for ballot measures. I was also designated as a member of the budget subcommittee as well. And then on January 24th, I attended a Tijuana Innovadora meeting, which was attended by Mayor Mary Salas and the consul generals from Tijuana and San Diego. So I reiterated the need for this group to prioritize cross-border pollution in their environmental agenda. And then on January 25th, I attended the U.S.-Mexico Studies Center watershed tour. It was attended by State of Baja California's Senator Luis Moreno. It was attended by the entire congressional delegation of San Diego. And I actually ran into the Public Works Director for the state of Baja. And I asked him when they were going to fix the sewage spill that continues to affect our beaches. It hasn't been repaired. And he basically told me that they didn't have an exact date. So I asked him to please prioritize that, because it's definitely affecting our water quality at our beaches. And then I attended the new Council Members Academy that was sponsored by the League of California Cities in Irvine, California, where I met the entire San Diego County's new council members. There were council members from Poway, Carlsbad, Encinitas, Escondido, and San Marcos, and it was a great experience. We spent 2 days in trainings all day. And then last but not least, last Monday, I met with a council member from the city of Tijuana. He is very interested in addressing all the cross-border pollution issues that affect both of our cities and both of our beaches. He actually lives in Playa de Tijuana, and he's been also pressuring the state of Baja California to prioritize, fixing the infrastructure, sewage infrastructure that keeps breaking down and affecting our beaches. So we talked about strategies that we could pursue to, team up as two cities so that we can finally find a solution to a lot of these issues that we're having. And I think that's it.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Patten.
Yeah, I was at the Clean Cities cleanup, and there were, like Mr. West said, there were over 400 people there. So I took my bucket and picker and went and cleaned up my own neighborhood. But there were a lot of people, so I'm like, I don't need me here. It's amazing what a bucket and picker can do for one little area. So I would recommend that you get a bucket and picker. And then I want to thank Chief Stabenow and Lieutenant Lindquist of the lifeguards, IB lifeguards, on MLK Junior Day. It was the King Tide, and they took me on a tour, and early in the morning, I got to see the effects of the King Tide coming over the streets into the estuary, just going straight in. And I want to also thank the Public Works and our city crews, because they were out the next day and days and days and days shoveling knee-deep sand and wet sand. That's a hard job, and they did a great job. I took a lot of good pictures, and I hopefully in the near future I could get a slideshow going. The lifeguards had great shots too, so maybe I could join them. And then the last thing I did over this period was interviews for the design review and Tidelands advisory. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. On January 25th, I attended the SANDAG main committee SANDAG meeting, and the big issue discussion at SANDAG, along with, I know, and Councilmember West, thank you for your leadership at the airport board, and then Councilmember Aguirre at the MTS board, because MTS, Caltrans, SANDAG, and the airport are working together, and the Navy, to develop a hub for a link for transit. So to be a transit hub with a people mover to the airport. So that's something that they're really going to fast track. So I think that's a great idea. So in theory, we could take the bus or take the trolley straight to the airport and with a people mover linkage. So that's a great idea. I'm the chair of the Borders Committee at SANDAG. The big issue there was talking about the new Otay 2 border crossing. And the idea is to have an additional border crossing at Otay 2. And so the United States government and the Mexican government and the SANDAG and Caltrans are working to make that happen. So if you didn't know that, the single biggest source of air pollution in the region, and probably in Southern California, is the border crossing. All those diesel trucks that are lining up to wait to cross the border have a significant impact on air quality in San Ysidro and in IB. We have an air monitor not too far away from here that's actually collecting the data on air quality. So anything we can do to actually get those trucks quicker across the border and people reducing those lines can have a significant impact on reducing our air pollution. Second thing I did was help launch the South Bay Rapid. That's a new rapid bus service from the Otay border crossing to downtown. Takes an hour total, but actually if you park and do the park, folks in Chula Vista can park at Palomar and 805, it takes 30 minutes. There's a dedicated lane on the 805, and I actually did ride it. Actually, we had to go to the airport after that and did ride it, and it's actually amazing how fast it is and efficient, and you don't get stuck in traffic on the 805. So, anybody that's in Chula Vista east of the 805, they work downtown. I'd be on in a second rather than getting stuck in traffic. Finally, thanks to, I think it was one of our congressmen, had maybe a number of different congressional leaders had asked the General Accountability Office of the United States government, and that's the investigative branch of the United States government that looks into issuing reports on problems with agencies and on issues. And so the GAO has been tasked to actually do an investigation on the issue of the International Boundary and Water Commission and our problem with water pollution. Just Senator McCain, before he was a senator, actually asked them to also look into Nogales. So we're not the only border city that's facing these significant problems of flooding and sewage, but they were here today. They've been here actually all week. They met with the new head of the International Boundary and Water Commission, and then me and Andy Hall, Chris Helmer, and our city attorney to talk about our perspectives on what the issue is. And the summary that we said was, it's not clear why the city of Imperial Beach is doing the work to protect the property and the health and safety of the United States Navy, the Department of Homeland Security, our Border Patrol agents, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and NOAA. But we're glad to do it, but we'd appreciate a little bit of help from the United States government. And I think they hopefully got that message, but we're doing it because we have to do it. And we will do whatever it takes to make sure we're pushing on water quality. And let me make this clear, on both sides of the border. We are hammering intensely on both sides of the border. But there are a bunch of other people who have a lot more money we do and a lot more pull than we do. And the message was they need to pull some of their weight and get off their butts and actually work a lot harder. And so that's the message we're going to continue to pull. But I know Councilmember Aguirre is working with our congressional delegation to get funding from Congress to get some funding for infrastructure because we need it. And just so we've had a sewer pipe that's broken and being with up to 4 to 5 million gallons of raw sewage being discharged in the Tijuana River for 2 months. So that's obviously unacceptable. So you'll be seeing, we're going to continue our work, but it was nice to have an agency of the federal government actually, for the once, listen to us and actually trying to figure out what's going on. So anyway, and then Chris Helmer, our environmental director, natural resource director, took them out in the field today. So they got to see all the garbage and sewage and toxic waste in its full glory, which is unfortunate, but it's good at least they were here when that's been going on. And that's it. Mr. Dush, I think city staff has an announcement.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Just a brief update on our LCP and general plan update in terms of some of the timing and the schedule. So working backwards, we're looking at July to bring the document to y'all. So what that means, backing into it, about a week and a half ago, we released our most recent consolidated draft of the LCP and the general plan. Later on this month, we'll have the climate action plan. And we'll also then continue to have additional meetings, outreach, take it to our boards and commissions. But anyhow, just wanted to kind of give that brief overall timeline. We'll put all those dates on the website once they're ratified and locked in. But that's kind of our general timeline. So just a brief update on that.
Great, thank you. Now we have Fire Chief French with a presentation. And you'll be doing the Fire Prevention Week presentation after this, right? Yeah, okay.
Mayor, City Council, just here tonight to give you a little update on a little bit about what Councilmember Patten was talking about. The storms we had last month and continuing this month. What we've been doing as staff is really keeping track of the time and effort that the city staff has put into it. Just with that weekend storm we had with the high tides and the high surf back in January from the 18th to the 21st, and then the cleanup after that, we had 350 staff hours. So I kind of wanted to let you know that we're keeping track of that and we're looking at that and we're going to continue to do that and prepare and be ready for any future storm.
Thank you. Mr. Helmer.
And then one of the updates on the storms is this year the city's been implementing an incident action plan for every storm event. The chief has been prepared it and impacts every department. So in public works, before every storm event, all of our department goes on storm patrol. So before every storm event, we go and we inspect every storm drain, make sure everything is clear. This past Saturday, we actually had our largest storm of the season that came in. And typical of these large storms, you have large wind events that happen preceding these rain events that come afterwards, where it ends up knocking down leaves and branches and trash and debris from people's yards. In those circumstances, we have on-call duty staff, which happens on the weekends that get called out. And this weekend, we had our staff called out and we responded to numerous calls and we got to all the incidents as they were reported.
Just for clarification, first, I want to thank, Public Works, our fire department, our sheriffs, our lifeguards for all the work, and our city manager, our management team, actually everybody really holding together, and as you had talked about. The clarification is what happened at the south end of Seacoast Drive. That's actually not in the city of Imperial Beach. That property is owned by the United States government. Is that correct?
Yeah, the very south end of Seacoast Drive is Fish and Wildlife.
So where all the flooding happened that's impacting our streets that we cleaned up when the United States government was closed, that was really the job of the United States government. That's correct, right?
Well, on their property, yes. So the Fish and Wildlife did respond during the flooding and said, I wish we were working so we can come and help you with this. Any help the city can provide, we'd appreciate it. And to that extent, today, city staff is out there working with Fish and Wildlife, cleaning up reserved property with guidance of Fish and Wildlife. That's just a highlight of the partnership that we have here in Imperial Beach.
So I think we're glad to do it, but I think we talked today about maybe presenting them with a bill just so that they understand how much it's costing to clean up their property when they were closed and then afterwards. So, I mean, it's great we're doing it, but it is the U.S. government. So they do have a little bit more money than we do. Good. Okay. And, and I think it's important to understand the 350 hours that we weren't spending paving our alleys, putting in crosswalks, putting in sidewalks, cleaning up our streets, and making sure we could coordinate with our sheriffs to keep reducing crime, and making sure our city was safe. So that was 350 hours of most of our staff focused on coastal flooding and keeping and protecting our beach. So that's something important to know. That's not just the time and money that we spend, but it's what we're not doing in other. Any comments on that? Or?
Yeah, one to go along with what Chris was saying. One of the worst incidents we had during the storm this weekend was one of the storm drains plugged and several cars got flooded. And what that is a lot of times it's amazing how little, if a little bit of garbage gets in the storm drain or a few leaves or a few branches, it plugs up in a hurry. So we would certainly appreciate any help we can get from the residents. When these storms are coming and the wind picks up, just go outside and make sure you look around and see what's happening. If you see some debris or something in a storm drain, call us so we can clean it up. But it can clog up in a hurry. That's one of the things we found is the storm drains. It doesn't take much to clog them up. So we really appreciate all the eyes we can get and let us know, and we'll get out there and clean them up. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And thanks for the presentations and all the good. And now this is awesome. We have presentations 1.1, special recognition and presentation of the Imperial Beach Athletic Club. And I think, Eric, you were going to have a presentation? Sorry. Oh, I missed public comment. Wait, Eric, sorry. I missed public comment. Back up. There you go. Sorry, Eric.
You'll get to say your word.
For public comment, we have Eric Syverson. The other Eric.
Mayor Dina, City Councilmember Patten, Councilmember Aguirre, Councilmember West. I missed Councilmember Spragues and Councilmember Bragg. I'll begin by saying I'm sorry. It's a public apology for my behavior on October 17th, the meeting here. I have been passionately fighting polluted water beyond a belief. I would like to present to you all a picture of my storm drain. I sent you all to your city emails a position paper that I've written concerning the issue of tidal inundation into that particular storm drain. I've met with Mr. Hall, Mr. Dush, Mr. Helmer. I'm told by Mr. Helmer that that tidal inundation can reach as far as Imperial Beach Boulevard. It's also quantified in the SLR from 2016 done by Revell, except when I look at Revell's things, I'm really, really worried because they made a lot of flooding predictions, yet their diagram does not show a tidal connection to that storm drain in the SLR. And if Dave Revell does not know that the tidal inundation is already in that storm drain, then his flood predictions for the city are wrong. That is a modern estuary that is 100% man-made. I can prove it very easily. It's not difficult. All these issues of nuisance flooding, pollution flooding, water flooding, they could be stopped. We could push sand, we could block channels, we could have tidal controls. On February 2nd, the Tijuana River gauge at the IBWC international border reached what is quantitatively a 10-year flood event. That means over 311 cubic meters per second. It flowed for 30 minutes at 361 cubic meters per second. That is approximately 171 million gallons of untreated, raw, polluted sewage that flowed in 30 minutes on Saturday night and is most likely now sitting under my neighborhood twice a day with the high tide. I don't know what you all are gonna do. I've written a million ideas. I'm gonna write more, and then I'm gonna start blocking water. Thank you.
Mr. Simonson, we appreciate it. Great, thank you. Paige Hannon.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I am a new member in your community. Just moved here in November of 2017 and live in Bayside Landing. Myself with now 187 sold units are in that community. Most of us are new down to IB. We don't have the history here, and I represent the HOA board. So trying to get our community involved now with IB and be good neighbor. The question that our HOA is bringing up, which continues to be a growing problem, is short-term rentals. And 187 units that are not even all closed on, they close at the end of February. We have 20 short-term rentals active in our community and growing. So we want to know, is there a cap in IB? Who sets the cap? We're getting a lot of IB City, California Coastal Commission. Not really sure of where we get answers on the short-term rental policy here in the city of IB. And we want to get a handle on it before our community grows into a short-term rental community, because it's very attractive. It sits close to the beaches, the estuary, pools, jacuzzi, brand new townhomes, and they are full. And we are coming into these 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom homes, groups of 16 to 20 people continuously. So if we could maybe work and get some direction of who we need to talk to and try to keep this a controlled issue, because I know in our other beach communities it's gotten out of hand.
Yeah, so we can't have a policy discussion during
Right.
open public comment.
Right.
But Andy Hall, our city manager, will give you his card or his contact information. And we have very clear policy on that. And so we make sure we get in touch and feel free anytime you have a question in the future. All our emails are on the city website. Contact us immediately and we'll get back to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Right.
And we are going to get you out at one of our shows.
Great. Thanks so much for coming. We appreciate it. Frank Rogan, did I pronounce that correctly? Rogers, I'm sorry.
Mayor, City Council members, my name is Frank Rogers. I also live at Bayside Landing, relatively new to the community. There's a stoplight on Rainbow and Route 75. I know we have a noise ordinance, but about 4:30 in the morning to about 7, I guess the base at the naval station opens, and you get a ton of motorcycles that are so loud at, like I said, 4:30 to about 7 in the morning, that rip loud enough to set off a car alarm. Is there a noise ordinance? I know there's a noise ordinance for construction. You can't start construction before 7 o'clock a weekday and 8 o'clock a week. And I know there is a noise ordinance for mufflers, loud mufflers, but I don't think it's being enforced. I did talk to the traffic sergeant in Coronado, and he also drives a motorcycle to work. And he said that it is a violation. January 1st, the law changed where it's not a fix-it ticket anymore. It's a fix-it and fine, and the fine is substantial. I did talk to an officer or sheriff at this substation, and he directed me to come here. And it's, I'm semi-retired. I worked all my life. I got up very early. I like to sleep a little bit later than 4:30 in the morning on weekdays.
So again, we can't have this policy discussion here at public comment, but we'll direct you to the city manager, and then we can follow up. And absolutely, it's one of those things I think we can start looking at how to address that. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And again, anytime in the future, all our contact information is on the city website. Feel free to contact us immediately via email, and or call. We can follow up even before you have to come to the city council meeting. Thank you so much.
And we've had a couple in a row. And just so you know, under California law, the city council simply can't discuss something unless it's on the agenda. And that's, again, they're not trying to be dismissive. It's got to be on the agenda for them to be able to discuss it. Just want to make.
Mr. Henry.
What's up, guys? Happy New Year. I brought a present. These are really cool. These are straws that biodegrade. I didn't know they existed. You guys might already know that. But I know when we banned bags, there was like a notable, like you could weigh the trash before we did that, and you could weigh the trash after, and it almost went away. I mean, we're all pretty bummed right now. It's like a billion gallons of sewage that we're dealing with. But like, in addition to that, we're kind of responsible for some of the trash too. So I don't mean IB in particular, but I mean like all of San Diego and stuff. So I do like that as soon as we made a change, we saw a result. I like that idea. So I just thought that was cool. I was actually in Arizona of all places where they just like throw trash away. I'm just kidding. They probably don't do that. Yeah, so just biodegradable straws that, I still like the idea of banning things that, only do harm. So just an idea. And also just quick thank you, because I love the new workout area. It's really cool. I really enjoyed using that. And new bathroom. Veterans, real nice too. So thanks for addressing that. Appreciate it. You guys are doing great.
Yeah, and Mr. Henry, I know that Mr. Hall can just mention we do have another environmental ordinance in the works, so that's something we'll be looking at as additional items.
Yeah, sweet. I know, like every business seemed like that was like wildly supported. So this is a good win for everybody.
Did you want this back?
No, you can keep
okay,
it.
Great.
It is empty. Yeah. The thing with straw is, yeah.
He got really thirsty on the way here.
Well, I tried to get him in order, but straws really suck sometimes. Oh.
Great. Thank you so much. I was supposed to announce the State of the City address. I'll be doing this. The 2019 State of the City address will take place Monday, February 25th at the Burris Auditorium, and from 6 to 7 p.m. That's at Imperial Beach Elementary or Charter School. And we look forward to seeing you there. That's at 601 Elm Avenue. And now, Mr. Gutierrez, Eric, who I've known since I think I was like in the 3rd grade. You were like in the 1st grade or something. So long time, old school. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. We have a presentation by the Imperial Beach Athletic Club, or IBAC. Thank you so much for being here and all your leadership. And it's great to have all the IBAC team here. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you, Mayor, City Council members, for allowing me to have a few minutes of your time this evening. My name is Eric Gutierrez, and I'm representing our club, Imperial Beach Athletic Club. Also, we go by IBAC, just another name, Imperial Beach Athletic Club, IBAC. In 2018 was our first year hosting events in Imperial Beach in the South Bay. It was an amazing year. We have strong board members and the best club members one would want. We are very blessed. Also, from the beginning, our city has supported us from our inception. So I thank you, and our club thanks you. Thanks the mayor, the city council members, Andy, you all been there. And not only that, I would have to say the fire department supported us from the beginning. We have the lifeguards. They've been down there at the beach helping us. The IB City maintenance down there, they've helped with the sand and helped get our events. It was really helpful. And Courtney herself, she's helped a lot, you know, I mean, the permit department there. So thank you all for all your support. So I would like to share a few things that our club has donated so far this year. And this is our first year. So in our first year, we given to Power Surge. That's a local girls travel softball team. They made it to the World Series. They needed some money. So that was one of our first things we gave to. And we also given to the girls softball down here, IB girls softball, the IB Little League, the Mar Vista baseball program. And on 4th of July, we gave out free raffle tickets, and we gave out 2 bikes with helmets, locks to the youth here in town. And also this last Christmas, we held a small food drive for less fortunate families. We ended up helping 4 families with Christmas dinners and a lot of extra items, food items. We at IBAC hosted also 2 free events with the Boys and Girls Club, cornhole tournament up on the beach, and then we did a skate contest here at the skate park. In both events, we raffled off prizes, provided food, inspired the children, and in a fun and competitive attitude. So it was really fun. I don't know. I know Serge made it down and some others. I know I've seen Andy at a couple of events, but the things we've done has been very positive. So I'm very proud. I am. So at the skate event, what we did is we had a raffle, and we gave all the kids a free raffle ticket, and then we sold some extra raffle tickets. We wanted to make some money towards the skate park. We ended up $370 we made in raffle tickets funds. And then our club is matching that to another $630 to give even $1,000 tonight that we'd like to donate to the city towards the skate park and the skate park community. So that's where we're at tonight. And I would like to thank you again. Our warmest regards to all of our citizens of Imperial Beach, our community leaders, and the youths of Imperial Beach. And sincerely from all our IBAC members, the board, and myself, president of IBAC, we thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Why don't we do, first, I don't know if there's any questions or comments. Yeah, Mr. Patten. First, thank you so much, Eric, for actually a really good presentation. And then we'll do a photo with all the members and stuff up here. So if you guys don't mind, we'll do that. So.
Yeah, so I want to thank Eric Gutierrez. He's put his heart and soul into this, and it's well thought of. The board members, the members I see out in the audience, they could have done a lot with this $1,000. They could have spent it in a lot of different ways, and they decided to give it back to the community, and I think that's very admirable, and it's pretty much what IBAC's all about. They've done a lot in 1 year, and I look forward to watching them grow. I mean, basically, they're like a big family if you look at them out there, and that's how they act. I've been at a lot of their events, and I'm real proud of them. I want to thank the men and women of IBAC, and I can't wait to see what you do next year. So thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Eric, the entire IBAC crew, you guys are kind of amazing. I mean, it's like you have just taken this whole thing to another level, and I think it shows what our community can do. In so many ways, you guys are exactly what IB is about. Small group comes together, gets stuff done, and gets it done for our entire community. I remember at the bicycle parade and seeing the kids all running up there getting their bikes, and it was awesome. And I have to admit, I was like, oh my God, they remembered helmets too, which was a nice touch, really nice touch. So I know that all of us on this council are very excited about really working towards that skate park, because we want to make sure that our kids can have a world-class facility like they deserve, because we need a world-class skate park so we can have the next, skating's a part of the Olympics. We want a kid from IB being in there. You know what I mean? So I love it. So yeah.
I just want to thank you. I know I'm becoming familiar with IBAC. You and I spoke a few months ago, and I learned about you guys. And I just want to say that I'm very grateful for you guys supporting our youth as well. Like, we're a working class community, and some of these leagues, like the softball leagues, like these families, it's hard for them to send their kids on these trips. So all the help that you've been able to provide them is super important. So I'm really grateful for that. And thank you so much for the donation to the city as well. And you have our full support.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, Eric, I think we had the first conversation on the pier, and I don't know how many years ago, is that a couple of years ago, 3 years ago?
When I
actually,
yeah.
I don't actually still remember it vividly, and so, and you told me about the idea, and so congratulations. And I want to thank all your members. All of us grew up in IB around the Boys and Girls Club, Little League. We had those mentors and people that were pushing us and who had no money, were spending all their time making sure we were okay. And I love that philosophy. And Chad, your dad was an integral part of that. And so I think there's a long history of that, of mentoring and coaching and pushing forward for our kids. And so it's really moving for us and inspiring to see all of you coming together. I think the theme of this past year was leaderful community. Leadership is about building leadership, right? And so you guys have shown that. And more importantly, you're giving back. We look forward to supporting you more and working together with you to really support our community. And, I know all of us believe that Parks and Rec and our kids are absolutely the most important investment we can make in IB. That's it. There's nothing, GDP, gross domestic product, I'm not sure whatever else that stuff is, it's investing in our kids. So thank you very much. And we'll come up and do a photo, but thanks again. Let's give Eric and
I want to thank my members. It's my members. It really is. We have great members. We have great members.
Yeah, so if you guys can come up with all the members and we'll do the whole photo with the council, that'd be great.
I just figured out.
You know what it is?
Yeah, I know.
Millennial.
$1,000.
Thank you.
Great. More. We've been encouraging community-based organizations to come in and share, update the council on their activities. So if you know anybody that runs a community-based organization that's doing good work, please ask them to come back to the city council and present a formal presentation on what they're doing, because it's good to do that. It's good to learn how to do that. And it's good for us to be aware of all these great things that people are doing. So with that, we have more good things going on. We have item 1.2, recognition of fire prevention week poster contest winners. We have our fire chief French and the fire department here. Thank you guys for being here. So,
all right, Mayor, City Council. This is probably my favorite presentation every year to get up here and do this. Every October, for the month of October, our firefighters go out to all the elementary schools and we target the second grade classrooms. So every year, as part of that, we go out there and we teach fire prevention. And the slogan this year was look, listen, learn, be aware, fire can happen anywhere. So that was kind of the theme of the poster contest. So at each school, we pick a winner from the classroom. So each school were probably 100 to 120 students. And so these are the best ones from these schools. So what I'd like to do is, only 2 of the 4 winners are here tonight, but I'll still mention the other ones after. But the ones we have here tonight, we'll start with Angelique Coda. You can come on up here in front. She's from Central Elementary School, and here is her poster. You want to show that to them?
Beautiful.
And a certificate. As part.
Yeah, we didn't even see it.
Want to show it? As a part of her winning and the other winners, as part of their winning for their school and their class, the firefighters went out and did an ice cream party. So for her winning that, she got an ice cream party for her class.
Oh, nice.
So we always enjoy going out there and doing that. So, and she also has a plaque in her classroom with her name on it. So it gets passed from whoever student wins at that school for that year. So it kind of moves around to the classrooms. So the teachers are pretty proud of their students when they win. Okay, the second one tonight that we have here is Bella Solis. Here's her poster. Here's her poster. And before I hand you your certificate, I want to read what it says for both the girls. Certificate of Achievement Fire Prevention Week Poster Contest winner. This certificate is awarded to both girls in acknowledgement of their excellent artistic effort in creating a poster promoting fire safety during Fire Prevention Week. Look, listen, learn, be aware. Fire can happen anywhere. Thanks for a great job in getting the word out. Presented by the Imperial Beach Fire Rescue Department.
Invite us to the ice cream party.
Okay, we will. Yeah. We'll have one at the station. There's only one more second here to list the other 2 winners that weren't here tonight. Elise Andretti from IB Charter and Crystal Lucerno from Bayside STEAM Academy. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And obviously, parents and friends, you don't have to stay. This is now the mundane part of our meeting. It's very exciting after this. Thank you so much. Okay, now we have our consent calendar items 2.1 and 2.5. Entertain a motion. I entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items 2.1 through 2.5.
So moved.
I'll second.
Please vote. There you go.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Spragues absent.
Great, thank you. And now we have reports 5.1, appointments to Design Review Board and Tideland Advisory Committee. So I guess I do the announcing. Right? First, I want to thank the entire City Council sat in on the interviews and the selection process. It was a unanimous selection for all the council, the board members. So for the design review board, there are 2 terms expiring December 31 and 2022. The recommendation is to appoint Ilya Vrachinin and Carl Bradley. Mr. Bradley, I know you're here. Thank you for being part of this process. For the Tidelands Advisory Committee, there are 3 terms expiring on December 31st, 2022. The recommendation is to appoint Josh Hill, Bruce Robertson, and Ian Gill. Madam Clerk, are there any speaker slips?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Any city council discussion? Yeah.
Yeah, when you go to volunteer for a position and then you have to interview to volunteer, it's tough. There was a lot of experience levels that differed from the whole group, but one thing that was the same of the whole group, they all had the passion to do the right thing and volunteer for Imperial Beach. And I want to thank everybody that interviewed. They were all wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ross.
Mr. Bradley, I'm very happy you're here. I think, as we deal with so many things that are happening in our community, my last time on the council, we talked about how housing is such an important thing. And I really want you to know that as the design review board, you're really our first check on that, and our first sanity look at what we're doing and making sure you understand the rules of SB 50 and understanding what we're looking at in our future. So I think that I'm very happy that you're there, because I know you're the guy that kind of gets into the weeds and will look at those things. Not that you're a weed eater or anything like that, but you know what I mean. So I really appreciate it, and I know with you have a little help at home that can to assist as well. So we appreciate it, and thanks for stepping up to the plate there, Carl.
Yeah, I just want to add that I echo Councilmember Patten's sentiment. I think that the level of the qualification level of all the candidates was really impressive. And I also think that everybody, the one common denominator was that everybody's super passionate about Imperial Beach and wants to maintain the classic Southern California feel to it. And I was very impressed, and I was just I'm thankful to have been part of the process.
Great, thanks. Okay, no speaker slips, and I'd like to entertain a motion for City Council to accept the recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Spragues absent.
Great, thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Bradley. I remember when I was appointed to the Imperial Beach Youth Commission back in 1980 or 1979 by then Mr. Mayor Breboy. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, that was like 5 years ago, right?
It was the ARC, and then your appointment.
Okay. Now we have item 5.2, report on Imperial Beach Stormwater Management Program. Environmental Program Specialist Ariana will give the report on the city's Stormwater Management Program, followed by Matt Rich, Watershed Consultant, who will give a presentation on the Cooperative Watershed Management Program.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Okay, the Environmental Division is responsible for implementing several programs required by federal, state, and local laws that include implementing a stormwater management program, implementing a solid waste and recycling program, and collaborating on various different conservation programs that are important to the community. For conservation, we have all the information available on our website for residents and businesses that are interested in saving, energy, obviously money, with these rebates that are available. And we have all the information available for residents and commercial, on our website. The city partners with the city of Chula Vista, city of Coronado, and National City, and SANDAC, and SDG&E, and what we call the SOBIC, which is the South Bay Energy Action Collaborative. And we actually meet every 3 months, and we discuss what is out there available for residents and commercial. And it's really good to meet with them because they actually, give us some updates on what they're doing with their cities and what they are presenting to their commercial, for their businesses and for their residents. So it's really, really good meeting that we have. So they keep us up to date. Actually, the city of Chula Vista, they take the lead on this South Bay Energy Action Collaborative. So it's a good meeting that we have every 3 months. For the solid waste and recycling, we have the franchise company is EDCO. They take care of the waste and recycling services for the commercial areas and the residential for the whole city. They also work with us in the Homefront Cleanup event, which is held every first Saturday of May. And it's actually the opportunity that the residents have to get rid of big items and electronics and paper shredding. We actually combine the paper shredding event with this so we can offer more opportunities for our residents to get rid of these items. And that's a way that they have, to secure the, important documents that they have. And we have it, every year. And for the stormwater is a little bit more complicated than that. We have way more things to deal with. It's not only one thing that we do. It's just encompasses, everything. I would say like street division, sewer division. We work with them. We're small, small community, but we also do a good job with our staff, and we actually work with all the public works staff to do as much as we can. And I think we do a really, really good job. The stormwater management program. The municipal stormwater program regulates the stormwater discharges from municipal separate stormwater system throughout California. So that's pretty much we actually make sure that we don't pollute our receiving waters, what we call our receiving waters, which is the San Diego Bay that we have in the north, the Pacific Ocean on our west, and on our south we have the Tijuana River and the Tijuana Estuary. As I said, the stormwater management program, it actually integrates different programs. We have the development and redevelopment projects, which is all the construction sites that you see around the city. We inspect them daily, and we also train our public works staff so they can see if they have any erosion control, sediment control, and all of that. And they report to the environmental division, and we take care of that. And one of the things that we do for them is the enforcement. So they say that they don't have any sediment control or something. We go out there and let them know, and we follow the escalated enforcement, which is the verbal warning first, and then we go through a notice of violation and administrative citations. The jurisdictional runoff management program. Okay. Okay, the jurisdictional management program is, the purpose of this is a comprehensive plan that documents the multiple stormwater activities that we have in the city and effectively prohibit non-stormwater discharges to the stormwater conveyance system. This means that only rainwater has to go into the storm drains. The purpose of the GERM is to organize and describe the strategies that the city will implement to protect the water quality. The strategies in the GERM are informed by an adapted management process built into the water quality improvement plans and are intended to be reviewed and updated as necessary to achieve the desired outcomes in water quality. This GERM, the current GERM that we have, has been prepared in response to the 2013 stormwater permit, and we are expecting a new stormwater permit in late 2019. And for commercial businesses, we complete annual inspections to businesses, especially to restaurants. The FOG, what we call the FOG, is the fat oils and grease ordinance that we have. So if we check if all the used oil that they have, the cooking oil, is in place, and the areas are clean and all of that. So we take care of that with the FOG program. And this year we will be focusing on Imperial Beach Marine and beach protection that prohibits the use of expanded polystyrene packaging materials. we have already issued a couple of enforcement actions against a couple of businesses around the city. And also for the stormwater and code enforcement, we have neighborhood inspections which are completed daily. I do the neighborhood inspections every time, and all. As I said previously, our public works staff, they are trained to target those illegal discharges that we see on the street. During the last fiscal year, 17-18, 77 illegal discharges were detected and eliminated. The ICID program is the illicit connection and illegal discharge. And commercial inspections, we do that. That's part of the ICID program. So we also check that if they have storm drains or something in the property where the business is located, they are maintaining these storm drains and they are clean. Also, we have the construction inspections. We complete those inspections daily. Residential inspections. There's also another item there, and we actually complete what we call the alley sweep list, which is a list that I sent out to EDCO every Wednesday afternoon. So these are items that are illegally dumped in the alleys that we have around the city, and about 25 to 30 items are removed weekly. So that's what we work with EDCO. And also the some code and compliance, they also report items that are in the alleys. And also the public works staff, they receive phone calls or online complaints for this. This is just a quick example of the low impact development. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this picture. It's on Palm Avenue. And this is a sustainable practice that benefits the water supply and contributes to water quality protection. We have bioretention, permeable pavers, polluting prevention, and good housekeeping, vegetated wells, and we also promote the tree preservation. And the city of Imperial Beach is part of two watersheds, is the San Diego Bay and the Tijuana River. For the San Diego Bay, you see all the cities that are listed there, the Airport Authority, that agency, Chula Vista, the City of San Diego, Coronado, the County of San Diego, Imperial Beach, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, National City, and the Port of San Diego. And for Tijuana River, we work with the County of San Diego, us as the City of Imperial Beach and San Diego. And actually, Imperial Beach is the lead city for both watersheds. So we manage the contract that we have with the consultants, and we handle that contract with them. And next, we have Matt Rich from Wood, which is one of the consultants working with the city of Imperial Beach and the other committees. Matt will be presenting on water quality improvement plan, which was one of the most important things that we follow here in the city of Imperial Beach to make sure that the water quality stays good.
Thank you, Ubaldo, and Chris, for inviting me here, and thank you, Mayor and council members for giving me the opportunity to talk to you tonight. I want to talk to you about how IB is really a leader in water quality, and Ubaldo just mentioned how IB leads the efforts in these two watersheds, and that's true. These two watersheds, the San Diego Bay and the Tijuana River watershed, they encompass almost 24% of the San Diego region, nearly a quarter of it. There's actually 9 watersheds in the region, which extends all the way into southern Orange and Riverside County. So about a quarter of it is encompassed in these two watersheds. Ubaldo talked about the 10 jurisdictions that have responsibility in here, and Imperial Beach leads the efforts for those committees. The way they do that is through water quality improvement plans, and this is what Ubaldo mentioned. These plans were created in 2016. And they commit that all those co-permittees to increased efforts on water quality. And so these increased efforts, and you can see them on the screen, they consisted of identifying the priorities and the highest priorities in the watersheds, setting goals to meet water quality based on those priorities, developing strategies to meet those goals, and then monitoring to find out if those strategies were working, how they were working, where they were and weren't, using that information to adaptively manage and continuously improve the program, and finally outreach. On the right side of your screen, it shows a map of the priorities. Now, there's actually dozens of priorities within the two watersheds, and this map shows only the highest priorities that are really the focus. And in Imperial Beach, we have two. In the northern part, where it drains to the bay, the priority is physical aesthetics, which is mainly along the lines of trash, making sure it looks good, it's picked up. In the southern portion, Tidelands River, the highest priority is sediment. And you might be surprised, maybe think of bacteria or some other pollution, but it's sediment that actually can clog up the waterways and really mess up the estuary, flows off the mouth of the river. And that really, it turns out that's the biggest problem that's part of our MS4, part of the actual city's MS4, and that's what this permit directs the responsibility for. So in those 3 years, there's been an awful lot of progress. So far, many of the goals have been achieved. All of them are on track to be achieved. Some have different dates. There's interim and final goals. It's fairly complicated. And again, there's dozens of goals, but I picked just 3 of them here to show you tonight. On the top left corner of the screen, there's a table, maybe hard to read, but what that does is list some of the cities that are responsible for Choyas Creek that drains into the San Diego Bay. The check marks on the right-hand side of that box show all the goals that have been either achieved or, in fact, in some cases surpassed. And those boxes that don't have check marks are where they're still in progress. The goal maybe hasn't happened yet. It's a goal for 2020 or 2025, for instance, and so on. But those goals are in progress. On the right-hand side, this is actually related to the airport, and I'll come back to IB shortly, but this is relating to the airport, also in the San Diego Bay. And they've decreased the number of exceedances. These are the times when the concentration in the water goes beyond a level that makes it more of a pollution, makes it more of a toxin. They've reduced those exceedances for copper and zinc by 34 and 43% respectively, which is a huge improvement. In addition, they've increased the acres swept, and for the airport, copper and zinc, that's really where it comes from. It's the tires and brakes. Finally, on the bottom, again, National City, they had a goal of treating 130 acres through some stream restoration, which I'll talk about again in a minute. They actually exceeded that goal and have managed to treat 190 acres, which is nearly 50% beyond the goal. This was all accomplished through strategies, and these are both, it's implementing strategies that have been both proven and innovative strategies to combine those two to achieve this success. On the left-hand side of the screen is a tour we did with all of these co-permittees in addition to the Border Patrol and members of the Water Board staff. And on the left-hand side is Chris Helmer talking about the Imperial Beach alleyways and paving the alleyways and how that has led to significant improvements in reducing flow and sediment and trash. These used to be unpaved, contributing very huge amounts of mud and sediment to the waterways and trash. Now there's less trash put there in the first place, and even when it is, it can get stopped before it gets to the ocean. But a great example of innovative strategy here in Imperial Beach. In National City, the Paradise Creek I talked about a minute ago, this was formerly a concrete line channel. Runoff ran directly into it and straight into a concrete channel and straight out to the ocean. They've actually built detention and infiltration basins and restored the creek to its natural state. It's now a beautiful park that really serves the community and dramatically improves the water quality. It's now off of the 303D list, which it used to be listed, which is a great success. And on the right-hand side, we heard about a great trash cleanup recently. Again, this is a proven way. We dream of the day that they'll no longer be necessary, but in the meantime, trash cleanups are well proven to remove tons of trash out of our waterways. So to find out how we're doing, we do extensive monitoring to capture the range of surface water quality. This monitoring can take many forms. One of them is catch basin monitoring. In the center of the photograph, before a storm, you can see how we go down in the manhole to install this equipment. There's tubing, there's sensors and so on we've got to crawl up the pipe so many feet, 10 or 15 feet, and bolt this stuff in and all this kind of stuff. You can see this is actually a site right across the street. That's where the library is being constructed. And then once it starts raining on the left, that equipment sits up on the sidewalk. It's only there for a couple days during a storm. You may have seen it in November if you happen to be paying attention. But that contains equipment, and we go out there and we look at that every few hours to make sure the thing's going for a full 24 hours to collect samples from various points in the storm. So we get a really representative sample. And the pipe underneath the street out here, carries a majority of the runoff from Imperial Beach, from the paved surfaces of IB. It's really, I believe, the only outfall really to the ocean. So there's sheet flow, so there's some other places it goes. But in terms of the TJ watershed, that gives us a really good representative picture of what comes off the urban landscape during a storm. And again, that's just one type of monitoring. The water quality improvement plans have programs where we sample streams and rivers and the ocean, the catch basins like in these photographs. We sample during dry weather for, as Waldo mentioned, the illicit connection, illicit discharge, or over irrigation. So runoff that happens in dry weather, in many cases, can be even worse. Now, Imperial Beach has already solved that problem by diverting all dry weather flow, but in other areas of these watersheds, that's still a real issue. Obviously, we sample during wet weather when it's raining. I mean, that's one of the most important pieces. But we also do bioassessments, which is instead of collecting a sample and taking it back to a laboratory to find out what's in it, we go to the stream and actually measure the stream health directly. What are the bugs? What's the canopy? And I have a picture of that in a moment. And how is the stream actually? How's it really doing? And finally, we have other studies. We sample for sediment, for bacteria, for trash. And if that doesn't give us enough data to figure out what's going on, we have special studies to go out and really focus in on something and collect the data we need. So we use all that data for adaptive management. And here's an example here in the Tijuana River watershed where we are right now. This graph shows the goals for sediment that were set by the WQIP. Now, in these 3 years, well, actually 5 years since kind of that program under this current permit started, the goal was set at about 520, and that's that interim goal across the top, and the goal was to be below that. And clearly at this point, the average is significantly below that, and we think that's a great success. Now, the final goal is still farther out, and there's wet years and dry years and some other issues. But when the permit comes out next year, we're going to use all of that data, all of the data we've collected in the past 5 years, in addition to all the data that were collected prior to that, to reevaluate. Say, is sediment really still the highest priority? Is there something else we may need to move on to? And we don't know how that's going to go. We're going to work with both the co-permittees as well as the public. We have public meetings to help decide this. And we may move on and continue doing all the strategies we're doing for sediment, but move on and really focus in on the next highest priority. And so finally, this is something Imperial Beach is particularly good at, and this is proactive outreach, which promotes water quality and hopefully we hope someday achievable and science-based regulations. This is a tour we went on, which led by Chris, and it was one of the coolest things I've done on the left-hand side of the screen. We went through the border wall at the down at the outlets in San Ysidro. Really cool, standing inside the channel. And so we heard from Border Patrol and from Chris. This is again. The people here are representatives of all those 10 agencies that Waldo mentioned, as well as the water board staff, and there were a few others as well that were in there. And we got to hear about their concern and the various international concerns, and especially from the Border Patrol. It was very interesting and stuff that a lot of those folks hadn't heard before about a lot of those issues. On the right-hand side, this is where I was talking about the bioassessment. So we took the same group out to a stream, and the two guys, they're a little tough to see, but more in the foreground, Bill Isham and John Runoff they're Southern California experts in this type of thing. And they talked about how they actually do it, how they measure the canopy cover, how they measure the width of the stream, and how they collect the bugs, and how they analyze the bugs, and so on. And it was a really fascinating thing. But what I thought was really, really fascinating, really great out of it, is as we were walking back up the trail after we were done, I was right next to Erica Ryan from the water board staff. She said, wow, we write these regulations, but we don't always realize what all it takes to go into them. That's really a lot of work. And so I'm not saying immediate change is coming, tomorrow, but we're hoping for some of that science to really get in the permit, and they don't just kind of blindly list things, and so we can make sure that all the efforts that come from the permit actually give us really the data we need to address water quality, and not these resources kind of getting data that doesn't help much. So finally, the Imperial Beach really upholds the U.S. side. We hear a lot about the cross-border pollution issues, and so Imperial Beach is really leading these efforts here domestically. And I know over the past 20 years, or even more, but especially over the past 20 years, the beaches have really gotten a lot better. I mean, we still have a lot of work to do, a lot of things to do. But 20 years ago, they were closing a lot more often, and this is true, throughout Southern California, but Imperial Beach as well. And so, there's still a lot of work to do, but it's done a lot of good. We've really come a long, long way, and especially in these past 5 years, this water quality improvement plan, we can see the results. We monitor and we see it even this quickly. So again, this leadership, it comes from leading the efforts in a quarter of the watershed, 10 different co-permittees, and taking charge of that, being on track to meeting all these goals, on track or actually having achieved them, implementing these strategies, both new and innovative strategies, as well as proven strategies. monitoring all this and do these extensive monitoring efforts, adaptively managing, and finally communicating those results, outreach, and communicating those results to the public and to the watersheds in the region and other stakeholders. So that is my presentation. But I want to add on a personal note, I've lived in IP for 20 years now, consider my home, raised my girls here, and I'm really proud of what IP is doing and the leadership they've taken in water quality. So thank you again. I really appreciate your time and the opportunity to talk to you tonight. Oh, yeah.
Well, now I have a comment and then a question, but
We don't have any speakers.
I just want to say that the water quality improvement plans are one of the smartest things that the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board could have done, is to approach it from a watershed-based approach. And I think that we may have worked back in when we first started, because I was the community representative on the WQIP some time ago.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see the next evolution, to see where, now that we're meeting the highest priority of concern, hopefully, I don't know, we'll see that where that evolves to. So thank you for all your good work. My question was for Ubaldo, coming back to the solid waste enforcement. And I know that the city of San Diego has now passed their ordinance to ban styrofoam. And just wondering if there's been any discussion of partnerships with them, because we're so close with our community next door with Nestor. And I don't know if there's been discussions with them to create like some sort of like team effort to, you know, co-report to each other. I don't know, has that happened?
It is actually on the agenda for, we have tomorrow, actually, we're meeting. Is what we have the technical advisory committee, and we pretty much we meet with all the other cities, and they're gonna be sharing that actually. But before this happened, actually, I talked to the person.
Oh, cool.
They're in charge of that, or the representative that they sent to the TAC meeting. And yes, it's been. I also talked to Encinitas. They are the other city that actually they ban the polystyrene. And yes, they've been in communication about doing some partnership with them. And where I'm attending that meeting tomorrow. So yeah, we can definitely talk to them.
That's great. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say I really think that this is the right type of way that you're looking at this. We're finally taking science-based data and actually putting it to action instead of what we feel or what we, this is really going to be, we're going to be able to target really what we're seeing. So I'm really excited about the work that you, Mr. Helmer, and Ubaldo have been doing, and I really, really want to thank you. So Ubaldo, I know that I'm very interested in our second draft of our marine protection ordinance that's coming out. And I know there's a lot of work that I put on you guys to try to come out there with the next iteration of it, because I want us to be, I know that the rest of this council feels very strongly that we want to lead. We feel very strongly that we can't tell people on how to take care of their stuff if we're not doing it at home as well. In other words, we're not going that extra mile to make sure that everything's clean. We have the straws that are gone. We have all those things we need to lead. So I'm very happy that you're taking that to the next level, and I look forward to the next draft of the marine protection ordinance that we can see. And I know, Chris, you've been working on it real hard, so thank you very much. But Ubaldo, and I appreciate you going out to those restaurants and hold them a little accountable. So I know that that's not a fun job, but it's important too. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for the great job you're doing, the entire department. And Mr. Rich, thank you for that enthusiastic presentation. And Mr. Ariano, all the great work you're doing. It was interesting. Yesterday, I was on 9th and Palm, on 9th, the south side of 9th. So on my right, full cycle of the light. So on my right was the gas station and the bus stop. On my left was grocery outlet. On the right, stormwater was flowing really, like a lot of stormwater. On the left, where grocery outlet there was no stormwater flowing on all the way. And that's a hill. And I'm not sure if I missed the drain, but I just know from the street perspective, I saw water rushing and what would seem to be a very flat part of the street into the storm drain where there's no, it's the old system, right? Where there's grass, and then grocery outlet, we have the stormwater retention basin upstream, and then all the new type of basically, non-grass retention system, along the periphery of the building. And you didn't see almost any stormwater. So, that type of stuff is really important. It's really great. We're doing all this great work. Obviously, the question the GAO asked us in addition to sewage treatment was, is there stormwater management in Tijuana? Obviously, there isn't. That's something we have to start thinking about. You know, I know Mr. Helmer and the IB team has really been thinking about that. And then number two, we had a meeting with the head of Caltrans, San Diego Caltrans, about a month ago, and expressed our dismay about the amount of garbage on our highways. So it's really good you guys are doing all this work, but the fact is Caltrans isn't, and so we have to follow up on that, because I don't know if you've noticed lately, but our highways are a garbage dump. The amount of sediment and garbage and debris I see on our state highways is actually, it's shocking and embarrassing. In fact, it's worse than in Mexico. So anyway, we got to work on that. But again, thank you for that great effort you guys are carrying out. Appreciate it. Okay, there's no city council vote or action required. So now we have item 5.3, consideration of resolution 2019-8005, ratifying previous actions of the city council in relation to the FY19 general fund budget. And Deputy City Manager Cortez will give the report.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'm going to take a little twist first before presenting it. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity on this new role. I know it's big shoes to fill, ghost. And, you know, we're actively seeking opportunities, but I want to let you know and assure you that you have a great staff in the finance department. They're working really hard. So it's a learning curve for me, but I'm enjoying it. And we're a great team, assistant city manager, and myself. So bear with me. So tonight we're presenting to you a general fund update for fiscal year 19. The staff recommendation is to approve resolution 2018-8005. It's basically codifying all the actions that the council previously approved for current fiscal year, July 1 to current, July 1, 2018 to current. And it's just consolidating all the resolutions. There is also an additional adjustment on the budget, which I'll address momentarily. Like I said, it's a fun role. I was asked to present the budget, the numbers where, you know, they can easily understand. I'm sure I can't do it the way Doug did, but, you know, the effort is there. So if you see the city manager looking at me confused, this is why. All right, their budget cycle. So I'm going to go over these 4 points, and I'm going to rephrase it just, you know, for better understanding. So the city council approved a 2-year budget in 2017. This is for fiscal year 18, fiscal year 19. At the same time, in progress, currently this week, we're being audited for our fiscal year 18 budget. The next year budget is going to be starting in the next couple months, and, you know, we'll have a retreat, public hearings, etc. Again, tonight, this is an update just for the general fund fiscal year 17. So you have a 2-year budget that you approved. We're being audited for last fiscal year. Today, I'm presenting you an update just of the existing fiscal year, and then we're going to be preparing a 2-year budget. And we'll come back to the council with additional presentations. So the modifications for tonight, again, these are general fund. The revenues are tracking for our current fiscal year. The council approved an expenditure budget of 20.8. The previous actions, like I mentioned before, the council have approved by other sources of resolutions has been 398. However, the department heads have been able to make adjustments to their existing operating budget and personnel, where we actually reduced our costs by $44,000. In addition to the increases of these expenditures, there are transfers that we've done from the general fund to risk management. This is associated with consulting services in the voting districts. So some of the unanticipated expenses. City Council approved the completion of City Hall remodel. Hopefully we're going to invite the public to have an open house. So We can see all the great work that has been done there. In addition, City Council approved a reimbursement to the Boys and Girls Club for some of the recreational services and building improvement. So some of the transfers from the fund balance that have been impacted, as we know, is the formation of voting districts due to CVRA, that threatening letter that we got, and consulting services. So this is we retain a consultant to help with the transboundary pollution that's coming from border. And, some of the presentations address this. Few accomplishments. So despite of the adjustments and, the council recognized that the need, and some of these things were surprising. There has been numerous accomplishments. I list a few. Crosswalks throughout the city. The half pipe at Skate Park. The Bicentennial Triangle. The fitness center, or fitness court. Restrooms at Veterans Park. And additional more. The list continues. Those are just some of the highlights. So what's coming up? Again, in progress, our audit. Hopefully that's completed within 6 to 8 weeks, and we'll circle back with some information that's including our financial statements. And then our next 2-year budget. So we have an annual open house. We have hearings, council workshops, and then we adopt our budget. In addition to that, our labor negotiations are coming up with both of our bargaining groups, our fire and our SEIU. So those are definitely things that we would have to consider in our 2-year budget cycle. So just to give you an overview or wrap it up, is this request is to consolidate all those recommendations and actions that the council has approved. The resolution before you list all the other actions. It sums up basically from fiscal year July 17 to current. And Steve Dush, our Assistant City Manager, will present next one of the items. It includes basically a wash and one of the revenues that we're getting from the Port of San Diego for the project that he'll be presenting next. And it allows us to expend it as well, to accept it and expend it, or to accept and file the update. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Let me just make sure do we have, Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers up?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Mr. West. Mr. West, did you? Oh, I have the last one. Mr. Patten. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure, thank you. So Deputy City Manager Cortez, don't sell yourself short. You did a wonderful job. Absolutely. And I know for a fact our budget isn't something we look at every couple months. I know for a fact that between the Assistant Manager Dush and Deputy City Manager Cortez and City Manager Hall, it's something that's looked at daily. And I know we're in good hands. So thanks for the presentation. You mentioned a couple of unanticipated expenses. Are there any others that you see in the future right now, or I know you don't have a crystal ball?
Looks like City Manager Hall would like to.
What I was going to say is, remember when we passed a 2-year budget, this was actually prepared in the spring of 2017. So as things happen, and again, I don't know that we anticipated the very large dry weather flow that happened in the Tijuana River Valley. And so sometimes these things just come up, and at that point we knew we were going to have to go out and get some consulting work to help us. But there was no way we could have envisioned that 2 years ago. So we just want to make sure that we're coming back to you and updating you on things that we just didn't know was going to occur. Make sure that the public knows we have stayed on budget. In fact, we believe that the adopted budget, short of these emergency purchases that we had to make, we actually believe we're going to come in below budget at $40,000 below budget. So that's the good news. But no, here I am. I shouldn't say that I don't foresee anything, but here we are in February, getting close now to the end of the budget year. I think that we're feeling pretty good. We've honed in pretty good on these numbers. I feel pretty good about them.
Great. That's all I have. Thanks for the presentation.
Councilmember Aguirre.
Just a quick comment. I just want to say that I have full confidence in you, Deputy Director. I think that you have an incredible ability to explain very complex issues and finances to someone like me who's new and becoming familiar with the budget. You bring to the position 18 plus years of experience, and I could not see anyone more qualified than you to lead us on this budget process. So thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank you, because I know that this is kind of a team effort that you guys have both been doing on, and I think I always think of LC at Imperial Beach as like the small ship that I commanded at one time, and it was you had a lot of team members wearing a lot of different hats, and that's what I recognize that IB is doing, and I really appreciate the leadership that Senior Manager Hall is doing by trying to plus up his bench. In other words, giving you guys the opportunity to wear a few extra hats to get to where you've got somebody who can fill in that spot just in case something happens. So your hard work for both of you is great for you, but it's also great for our city because it makes us better in many ways. And don't forget about that MPA though. Keep working on that. I know that's the real important thing for you, and it's important for me for you to finish that. So keep working.
Great, thank you. No, thanks for the presentation. Your first one did a great job. And I think most importantly, you showed the impact. The budget isn't some sort of arcane list of numbers. At the end of the day, it has an impact on our community. But I think it is important to identify, we spent that money, it actually had a direct impact on the community. And we had Mr. Henry come in and talk about, how great the gym is. So, and people are using it, and the kids are using the skate park immediately. The bathroom is important. So all that, and obviously, I think part of the theme here is that we're taking on responsibilities for the federal government because they're not doing their job. Mr. Hall's purchased copies of a book called The Culture Code. It's by Daniel Coyne that I started reading and recommended that we purchase. And one of it highlights organizational excellence, including from the SEAL team, takes the lessons from excellent organizations, high impact organizations. And one of the things that they say is you have a tight team of people that learn by doing, basically. They accept the responsibility of taking on new tasks and sort of things that are risky. And so I think it's an example of you in your position and taking on new responsibilities. We appreciate you doing that. But that's how the city moves forward, and that's how we grow as well. And that's how people bond together and actually have a commitment to having a higher impact. And that impact is reflected in what we do on the ground. So whether it's in our Stormwater department or the work that you're doing, the finance department is doing, or the entire city is doing, it really was reflected in that. So at the end of the day, the numbers have to fit though. So, the numbers make the world go round. So we appreciate you and your entire team for helping make the numbers go round. So,
yeah.
With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2019-8005, ratifying and consolidating previous actions of the City Council impacting the City of Imperial Beach General Fund account.
Second.
Please vote. Great.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Spragues absent.
Great. And now we have items 5.4, and just bear with me a little bit. It's a complicated agenda item and discussion. I'm just going to summarize, but I think it's important to list out. But, yeah. So we have items number 5.4A through E relate to the Imperial Beach Boulevard Enhancement project. Items numbers 5.4A through E will be considered simultaneously. However, City Council will vote on each resolution separately. I'm going to go through it. Just item A is resolution 2019-8012, and that's appropriating state money almost $2.2 million for the construction of the IB Boulevard Enhancement Project. Item B, 2019-8006, is an additional $997,000 for the fiber optic project from the Port of San Diego. Item number C, 2019-8011, is about sewer main improvements, force main line improvements. Item D is about adding a $1.5 million budget item for this project via Sandag. And then item E is a resolution awarding the public works contract to Palm Engineering Construction Company for about $2.75 million. So City Manager Ditchwell. Assistant City Manager.
Mayor, are we, so the way you read that, are we looking at this all as
all at the same time.
all one time? Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, all of these will be opened at the same time, 5A through E, and then you'll vote on them individually.
Vote on each one, but we're talking about it.
Correct. Yeah, just because they're linked together. So,
Thanks.
yeah. So with that, the project that we're talking about, of course, is the Imperial Beach Boulevard Enhancement Project. And just to give a refresher to everybody, it goes all the way from Seacoast to 15th Street. Just from a design standpoint, it's in three different zones. And again, the design we had, or the City Council had considered that and approved it back in August. And again, just briefly, the benefits. Why do the project? Safety for the children and the seniors, safety for motorists, bikes, and peds, additional parking access to the beach and the natural areas, economic health, and it's going to be world-class placemaking along the estuary. It's really something to see. But again, as the mayor had sort of briefly indicated, what we're doing this evening is a consideration of 5 different resolutions. And those resolutions they cascade and they are all related to each other. But effectively what they're doing is you would be accepting and appropriating funds from a variety of different sources, and then authorizing a construction contract to Palm Engineering for the actual construction. So the construction contract is actually the full amount of it is about $8.2 million. The total project budget is just a little over, it's like 10.6 million. The delta there includes the engineering design, the project outreach, certain testing, and of course, the management of the project, and then a construction contingency. And so here are the funding sources, and these color codes just kind of indicate some of the different sort of sources. So I'll briefly touch on these. So we received a grant for a stormwater grant. There's a stormwater, our local match. It's really interesting to note that the funds that the city's expending from our general funds, $211,000, leveraged basically for a $10.6 million project. So we also got an active transportation grant, and then a urban greening grant. Now, when we brought this project to you, those were in the blue. Those were the dollars back in August that we had identified. That's just a little under $6 million. But one of the things that we try to do when looking at large infrastructure projects, especially like this, is to minimize the impacts that it's going to have upon the community. So any of those infrastructure enhancements that are below ground, it's a good time to do it when you open up the street and do a project like this. Because the last thing we want to do is have a beautiful new shiny street and then rip it up again for a project that we're working on with the port. The port of San Diego received a Homeland Security grant to do some fiber optics all throughout the region, and so we're piggybacking upon that. And so there's huge cost efficiencies for both. And so one of the resolutions that we'll talk about briefly is to enter into an MOU with the port. They pay us, we do the work, and it reimburses that way. And so there's mutual benefit. We also had on the books a sewer force main project. And so this is the perfect time to do that as well. So adding that along. And then also, in order to do some of these projects in bulk, because again, with bulk pricing, and again, not only is it just a better way to do it from a pricing standpoint, but then also not having to impact the community, with multiple different little projects. We're able to go through and take these down all at one time. So we're looking at doing some commercial paper for this project as well. Basically, Sandag has a bunch of bonds out there, super low interest rate on this. It's like it comes out with the fees about just under 2.5% for that 1.5 million. But we're again able to leverage the construction contracts and able to get these projects done. And then, of course, using money that we would have already budgeted for slurry sealing, and then some money from savings from a Citrus Avenue project, and then SB1 dollars are going to start rolling in, and so $1 million of those dollars. So those are the funding sources in just sort of a general sense. And so then the action items tonight, and again the recommendations for these resolutions, and these all feed in together because there are 5 of them. Is the resolution 812, which is the appropriation of the active transportation grant funding. 8006 is the agreement with the Port of San Diego for the fiber. 811 are those various mainline projects all aggregated together. 810 is the adding of the commercial paper that I spoke about to do the various enhancements, not only on this project, but so 1.3 million would be used for this project, and the balance of that would be used for other enhancements for improvements like in Veterans Park. And then the last resolution is the awarding of the public work contract to Palm Engineering for the construction, and then appropriating $2.75 million to the project budget. So that concludes my presentation. Here to answer any questions, we have our traffic engineer as well as Juan Larios, our city engineer, here to answer questions as well.
Thank you. You gave me a number of public comments, starting with Marco Amaral from the South Bay School District. Although I see here, you say you're representing yourself, but that's sorry, trustee of the South Bay Union School District.
The trustee.
I first want to say thank you if there's any firefighters still here for their involvement in our schools and what they do for our kids. And I would have said thank you to those parents as well for being awesome parents. Muy buenas tardes. Good evening. My name is Marco Maral. I'm a teacher, a member of this community, and yes, the Vice President of the South Bay Union School District Board of Trustees. Tonight, I'm also speaking on behalf, with her permission, of our fearless South Bay Union President, Cheryl Quiñones. I'm here to unapologetically speak on behalf of the safety of our students, the beautification of our community, and the enhancement of our local, unique culture. I want to encourage the IB City Council to approve the new funds for the betterment of Imperial Beach Boulevard. Our kids and elderly deserve to ride their bikes, cross the streets, and to have a street they can be proud of. This will also improve the area in front of Imperial Beach Charter, providing our kids more access to our beautiful estuary. This will then enhance our academic programs that teaches our kids to be caregivers of our natural, beautiful world. Council members, vote yes for the improvement of our beautiful city, for this will improve our public education system, and what is more important to a democracy than a dignified education system. Thank you.
Are you still the president of the board?
No.
Okay.
I got out of that role this year. We rotate every year, so yes. But I'm still fighting the fight. So I just want to say that I want to thank the city. Good evening, Mayor and council members, and Mr. Hall, for your management of the city, and for the collaboration you've had with our staff, not only the principal of Mar Vista and the staff of our school, Mar Vista High School, but also this former staff member here, Mr. Carl Bradley, who is retired now from being the Director of Planning and Construction for Sweetwater, but also our current Director, Janaea Quirk, and Armando Murillo, who is the Project Manager for the projects and construction at Mar Vista High. And I know you've kept them in pace along with you on this planning and how it will affect not only the access to our school, but as Mr. Amaral said so eloquently, the safety of our students and the culture of our school, it will be an enhancement that is welcome. So thank you very much for that. And I would ask you to support that measure. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it and all your leadership in the community. And we have Janaea Marking. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, from the South Bay Union School District. Thank you so much for being here and your patience. And all that you do for our kids, we do appreciate it.
Likewise. Mayor Dina, City Council, thank you so much for having me here. I am here as the Assistant Superintendent of South Bay Union School District. And with regard to the Imperial Beach Boulevard Enhancement Project, a safe path of travel in Imperial Beach is important to our district. The roads of our community lead to our schools, and we encourage our students and families to use diverse methods of travel, whether that be car, bike, walk, skateboard. I see students dancing up and down Elm Avenue in front of my office every day, and their locomotion to and from school always amazes me. We are grateful for any project, such as the Imperial Beach Boulevard Enhancement, that provides increased safety and access for our community. We just thank you so much for your efforts, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, and for all the good work you do. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
you.
Now we have Mr. Carl Bradley, who's now a member of our Design Review Board.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it was not my intent to speak. I merely submitted the card
Oh,
to
okay.
demonstrate
I'm sorry.
support. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now, I'm going to make sure I have Christina Vink. Christina, were you here to speak on this project, or I have it here about stormwater on Iris Avenue? Because that's a totally separate subject. So what do we do?
Yeah, at the discretion of the mayor and council, you could accept that comment. We normally have it at the beginning of the meeting. There's an item on the agenda called public comment. And so in the future, that's where they would normally have it. But at their discretion, they could take your comment.
Would you guys mind? Go, please. Thank you for being here. Sorry, and sorry we.
It's so good the entire time. That's the thing.
There was the major storm on, I believe it was the Saturday the 2nd. I did try to contact Public Works on Saturday as water rushed off from the job corps onto our street. It became flooded. Cars went under. My mother's vehicle, she was visiting. We had family in town. Her car completely toast. My concern is that if we don't get a handle on the flooding, what if my daughter needed help? What if we needed an ambulance? I can't kayak out of there. I can't get her there. What if seconds mattered? I just think it's a safety concern for myself, my daughter, and my community members. There are about 40 apartments in our complex. So I just wanted to get that addressed. I know that Renato, I called him on Saturday, and I got a response on Monday. And he said that he had gone out and he removed the grate from the storm drain. Now, my concern with that is now we have trash running into that storm drain, which would, I think, make it worse. I know that Job Corps sends a lot of runoff our way, which I think is in root part of the problem. But I just wanted to bring it to someone's attention so that we could get it fixed, so that if someone needed help, they'd be able to get help.
Great. Thank you so much for coming. And like I said, it's not an agenda item, so the city manager will definitely get back to you.
Okay.
And so we can make sure we follow up. Thank you so much for bringing it to our attention, and thanks for your patience.
Thank you for hearing.
And you're very.
Today's report.
With that, we close the public comment, and I don't know if we have any city council discussion. Mr. West?
I think this whole project is we've approved it. It's happened before. I remember thinking about it. There were a lot of things. I heard one guy say to me that it wasn't important. Our communities, bicycles aren't important to our community.
I think so. I know afternoon you asked me to put together a picture.
This is the IB bike. This is a completely renegade thing that happens every July 4th. And if we don't think that bicycles aren't important to our community, prime example. That's what 4,000 bicycles in our community. That shows me how important bicycles are, right? And I thank you for bringing that up. I want to say, I grew up in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. They had a really long debate about this one street in Boulder called Pearl Street. And Pearl Street, there's a long debate where we're going to make this a walkable community. What are we going to do with it? We need to keep the cars on it. We need all this. It was really tearing apart Boulder for a long time there. And they made a decision to remove cars completely out of this road and actually pave it over and make it a completely pedestrian friendly. And it is, to this day, probably the model of outdoor events that happen throughout our country. I mean, Pearl Street Mall is famous. And I think as we're looking at this project, I really look at this. This is what we're seeing in our communities right now. Driving is starting to drop. People, especially my son, didn't even get his driver's license until he was 25 years old, if that tells us anything. It is, driving is down, walking and biking is up. And it's a very interesting dynamic. During the 1950s, when we saw this, a lot of our the people who are looking at cities said, hey, we built all these highways and it made us go to these roads. It made us go onto the highways. Now they're saying, you know what? We're bringing that back down and making it where our communities that are more walkable and bikeable are the communities of choice throughout our country. So I am a huge fan of making a more walkable and bikeable community for all. I do have some questions though. When you originally brought this program, this to the council, it was right $6 million project.
It was right around 6 million is when with the sort of anticipated design.
Yeah, this is a really big project for this city. I mean, $6 million. I mean, thank Chris Helmer, you're going out and getting all those grants. It was amazing. But this is a really big project. One of the biggest projects we're ever going to do and could ever do in our community. So I had a lot of people ask me a lot of questions. How are we now at $10 million? And when you explain it, you say, hey, well, we're going to do the fiber optics. We're going to do the sewer. But we knew about those then too. And I want to make sure that when we're doing these projects, that all the ancillary items that we're going to be thinking about are brought into this project and brought in so we can see, because we knew that fiber optic was always going to be there. It's going to go all the way down Palm, and Lord knows I'd love to see if we can get that to help us make our community wireless. But it's important for us to if we're going to, when we sell an item and we vote on it for $6 million, it's important that it stays pretty close to that $6 million and not, because the public can get very concerned if our amount of money that we're starting at 6 million and ended at 10 million, there's a difference. Even though we can show it, we knew that those things were coming all along. So I would hope that when we bid a project that we're going to come see in the initial project, that the amount stays pretty close to that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Am I clear?
No, absolutely. And again, we can always get better. And I don't think we knew some of the exact numbers, especially with the port, because we had to negotiate some of those things. And then with the sewer project, again, it's its own project, but again, the efficiencies. But certainly understand the point you're making.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, we've got funding for it that I think is you went out and did the work to get a great rate for us with the commercial paper and all that. But it's just important that when we see a project that it stays around in the budget that when we're initially approving. I mean, I know we can't completely be perfect about that, but it's $4 million is a lot to increase, even though it is a major event with the fiber optic too. So, but overall, I think this is a great project. I'm very excited about it, and I look forward to the design, and I look forward to the finish.
Well, I just want to make a comment that it's quite impressive that the leverage dollars are 1 to 50. And I understand what Councilmember West is saying about sticking to an amount, but from my understanding, most of these are grant funds. And how much money would we be spending if we had installed a fiber optic or the sewage force main on a different time, that would have cost us even more money, I would think. So I think that, yes, the optics of it is 6 million to 10 million, but think about how much we are saving by making these investments at the right time and not opening up our streets again. And I think that it falls upon us as a council to also educate the community in regards to, you know, how we expend our funds. So I just want to say that I commend staff for, I mean, that's quite impressive to get to an amount of 1 to 50 leverage dollars.
It's a big group effort. And again, thanks with the leadership of this council and taking a look at how to do these projects. We appreciate it.
Mr. Patten.
You know, we could have had a room full of people here holding signs up, don't do it, and all these things. And obviously, the planning of this, you did it right. Yeah, sure, there's a little extra money that we have to put in, but we're getting a lot out of that extra money. And that the fact of the matter, we had 2 school districts in here who completely support this, and you know, for the safety of our children, and that's one of the big factors of this project is the safety, as well as the educational opportunities that are going to open up when that boardwalk's open. So I look forward to the project, and I just can't wait till it's finished. I'm sure you can't either.
Yeah, I want to thank our colleagues in the South Bay Union School District and the Sweetwater Union School District as well for being here. I think one of the most important elements of when we have infrastructure investment in the city over the last 4 years has been our Safe Routes to School program on Elm Street. That was another collaborative effort with the South Bay Union School District, as well as the Sweetwater School District with Mar Vista High School. It's been a huge success. That project has been an exceptionally well-used project by bicyclists, pedestrians. You know, I see fathers and mothers teaching their kids how to ride bikes on that program, grandmothers and mothers with strollers. In fact, the sidewalks are so wide, entire families can walk side by side with strollers, and I can ride my bike by with my surfboard on it. So that's obviously super important. And additionally, we've paved alleys. All the alley paving has predominantly been in neighborhoods where majority of kids live, and then also next to elementary school. So whether it was Central School or Oneonta, or as well as Bayside, we made a significant investment in paving those alleys that were unpaved, that provide a lot of dust in those neighborhoods, which contributes to asthma. So that collaboration with the school district is super important. You know, I've just started watching how well used this roadway is for kids on bikes and kids walking to school, as well as moms with strollers and grandmas with strollers. It's actually really amazing how well used it is, considering that it's an absolutely horrible area to ride your bike and walk. I try to avoid riding my bike on that area anywhere east of 9th at all times. So, and I grew up riding my bike from Mar Vista and at Harborview all the way east to 13th or 15th Street where I grew up. So anyway, I want to thank city staff for doing a great outreach event, and then more importantly, our partners at the school districts for working with us to support this project. Really appreciate it, as well as the city council for supporting this. This may be an expensive project, but it'd be a lot more expensive if we did it in 5 or 10 years. So, you know, that's something I've learned at Sandag, that we need to spend, you know, it's a lot cheaper to spend the money now than later. So really appreciate the work you've done to this. And so we're going to go through, just bear with me. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 motions to vote on. So I'll start with the first one. I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2019-812.
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Okay, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2019-8006.
Motion. Second.
Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Spragues absent.
I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2019-8011.
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2019
Wait, Mayor. Motion carried unanimously by those present.
I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2019-8010.
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. And the last one, I would like to.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Everyone. I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2019-8013.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Please vote.
Okay, we're good. Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Great. Regular meetings adjourned. Thanks everyone for being here. Thank you very much.
Nope, I need to announce that I will not be attending the closed session.